On that day, September 11th, 2001, in America, an unprecedented terrorist attack occurred in American history. 4 planes were hijacked and crashed into 4 locations in America. The man behind these attacks was Osama bin Laden, who was responsible for the deaths of thousands. The terrorism nurtured by America eventually turned against it. Why was there a need to attack America? How did America foster terrorism? Who exactly was this Osama, and how did he become a terrorist? To know all this, watch the story. Osama was born in 1957. There isn't much information about where he was born, but some say he was born in Saudi Arabia. His father was a wealthy businessman, a Saudi construction contractor who was very close to the Saudi royal family at that time. He also handled many constructions for the Saudi royal family. Osama's family and the Saudi royal family even had a joint business company. Osama was raised in luxury from the moment he was born. A few years later, his parents separated, and Osama was raised by his mother. Although they were a religious family, they weren't so religious that they would turn him into a terrorist. Those who saw him in his childhood never thought he would become a terrorist. Osama graduated in economics from Abdulaziz University. Everything was fine up to this point. This is where the story begins. As Osama grew older, his interest in religion increased significantly. He read many religious books, and some of these books sowed the seeds of terrorism in him. Not only that, after completing his studies, Osama went to Pakistan. Pakistan was already infamous for terrorism and terrorists, which fueled the fire of terrorism within Osama. At the same time, the political situation in Afghanistan became chaotic. In 1978, the Marxist People's Democratic Party, PDPA, came to power in Afghanistan. This party had ties with the Soviet Union. They started promoting socialism and anti-religious rules in Afghanistan. This did not sit well with the Islamic groups and opposition parties in Afghanistan, leading to a rebellion against the government. To counter this rebellion, the PDPA sought help from the Soviet Union, which led to the Soviet Union invading Afghanistan in 1979. Thousands of army tanks and hundreds of soldiers took control of cities in Afghanistan. In response, a new group called the Mujahideen started attacking the Soviet forces. Many people from around the world came to Afghanistan to join the Mujahideen and fight against the Soviets. Osama was one of them. Pakistan started preparing young Muslims like Osama to become terrorists and sent them to Afghanistan. At this time, America entered the picture. Being an arch-enemy of the Soviet Union, America began funding and supporting this group to weaken the Soviets. By 1980, the war had intensified, and because the U.S. was indirectly involved in the war, the Soviets faced a significant setback. From 1980 onwards, Osama played a key role in this war. He even spent all the wealth he inherited on the war. Later, in 1984, to secure more funding for the war, he founded an organization called Maktab al-Khidamat. This organization received substantial funding from Arab countries, as well as the U.S., but America did not realize that what they were nurturing would later become a headache for them. With this funding, Osama bought weapons and brought young Muslims from Arab countries to Pakistan, where they were trained and then taken to Afghanistan. Osama would frequently travel between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and due to these activities, he gained some popularity. In 1984, the Soviet Union lost the war, signed a peace agreement, and withdrew its troops from Afghanistan. During this time, Osama fully embraced terrorist ideologies. He began to view all non-Muslims as enemies. He was particularly angered by the involvement of Western countries and other nations in the affairs of Arab countries. The attacks on Muslims in various countries also contributed to Osama's transformation into a terrorist. Later on, Osama founded a terrorist organization. The main targets of this organization were Western countries and non-Arab countries in the Middle East. In the following years, Osama carried out numerous attacks in Western countries. As a result, Saudi Arabia revoked his citizenship, and he became one of the most wanted men in many countries. At that time, America's interference in the Middle East was significant, and Arab countries like Saudi Arabia were also allied with America. Not only that, but many Arab countries also supported Israel. Osama could not tolerate these things, and slowly his focus shifted towards targeting the U.S. After the war in Afghanistan ended, political turmoil continued. Finally, in 1996, the Taliban came to power in Afghanistan. On August 2, 1990, Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein attacked Kuwait and occupied some territory. This prompted America to prepare for a counterattack against Iraq. Saddam Hussein planned to attack Saudi Arabia through the region he occupied in Kuwait. As a result, Saudi Arabia sought America's help for protection against Iraq. This infuriated Osama, who offered to fight Iraq just as he had fought in Afghanistan. But Saudi Arabia rejected Osama and turned to America instead. As a result, the American army set foot in Saudi Arabia and began a war with Iraq. In 1992, America imposed sanctions on Iraq, which further enraged Osama. The presence of American troops in Saudi Arabia, which houses the holy site of Mecca, and America's support for Israel, fueled Osama's hatred towards America. After losing his Saudi citizenship, Osama moved to Sudan, where he established good relations with the rulers and continued to launch attacks on America and other Western countries from there. In response, America imposed sanctions on Sudan in 1996 for supporting Osama. By then, the Taliban government had been established in Afghanistan, and the Taliban leader invited Osama to Afghanistan and supported him. From the moment he reached Afghanistan, Osama had only one target: America. He began planning attacks against America to seek revenge. He made plans to attack the CIA headquarters, the World Trade Center, and other targets. Fortunately, these plans failed, or else America would have faced a massive terrorist blow in 1996. Finally, in 2000, he devised a plan to simultaneously attack the World Trade Center and the Pentagon in America. According to this plan, Osama successfully attacked these two targets in America. This was the largest terrorist attack in American history. This attack not only shocked America, but the entire world. How did Osama plan this attack? How did he carry out such a massive attack while blinding America? How did the attack happen? We'll find out all these details in the next part. The next part will be very interesting, so don't miss it.